controlling and configuring the viewports. Although Max consists of many different interface elements, such as panels, dialog boxes, and menus, the viewports are the main areas that will catch your attention. The four main viewports make up the bulk of the interface. The Max interface includes 4 viewports, each with a different view. Isometric views in Max are called orthographic viewports. You can create an orthographic viewport by rotating any of the default non-perspective views. Max includes several keyboard shortcuts for quickly changing the view in the active viewport, including T, top view, B, bottom view, F, C, camera view, $, spotlight view, P, perspective view, and U, orthographic user view. Pressing the V key opens a quad menu that lets you select a new view.
Working with the ViewCube. The ViewCube consists of a 3D cube that is labeled on each side and centered in a ring located on the ground plane. Its purpose is to show the current orientation of the viewport, but it is also interactive and provides a way to quickly move among the different views. The ViewCube lets you quickly change the current view. Go to Home View. The ViewCube also lets you click and drag on the cube to rotate the view around. You can also click and drag on the base ring to spin the model about its current orientation. Above the ViewCube is a small house icon. Clicking this icon changes the view to the defined home view. You can set the home view by right-clicking the ViewCube and selecting the Set Current View as Home option from the pop-up menu. These same menu options are also available in the View's ViewCube menu. If the ViewCube isn't visible, you can enable it using the View's ViewCube Show for Active View. There is also an option to show for all views. The ViewCube panel in the Viewport configuration dialog box lets you control where and how the ViewCube appears.
Using the steering wheels. The ViewCube is great for switching between the default views and for rotating the current view, but there are many additional navigation tools that aren't covered with the ViewCube to handle many of these other navigation tools, such as zooming and panning. Max includes the steering wheels, another gizmo for navigating the viewports. View's steering wheels toggle steering wheels menu or by pressing the Shift+W shortcut. The steering wheel gizmo includes several different ways to navigate the viewports. Zoom causes the view to zoom in and out of the scene about the pivot. The pivot is set by holding down the Control key while clicking. Orbit causes the view to orbit about the pivot. The pivot is set by holding down the Control key while clicking. Pan causes the view to pan in the direction that you drag the cursor. Rewind, as you change the scene. Max remembers each view where you stop and keeps these views in a buffer. The rewind mode displays these views as small thumbnails, as lets you move through them by dragging the mouse. This allows you to rewind back and move forward through the buffered views. Center lets you click an object to be the pivot center for zooming and orbiting. Walk moves you forward through the scene as if you were walking through it. Holding down the Shift key lets you move up and down. Look, causes the camera to rotate side to side as if looking to the side. Up/down, moves the view up and down from the current location.
Using the viewport navigation controls. The ViewCube, the steering wheels, and the scroll wheel make navigating the viewports easy. You can still use the standard navigation tools located in the bottom right corner of the interface. The standard viewports show you several different views of your current project, but within each viewport you can zoom in on certain objects, pan the view, or rotate about the center of the viewport. Viewport navigation controls. Zoom, Alt+Z or moves closer to or farther from the objects in the active viewport. By dragging the mouse or zooming by steps with the bracket keys. Zoom all, zooms into or out of all the viewports simultaneously by dragging the mouse. Zoom extents, Ctrl+Alt+Z, zoom extents selected, zooms in on all objects or in just the selected object until it fills the active viewport. Zoom extents all, Ctrl+Shift+Z, zoom extents all selected, Z, zooms in on all objects or in just the selected object until it fills all the viewports. Field of view, region, zoom, Ctrl+W, the field of view button, available only in the perspective view. Controls the width of the view. The region zoom button zooms in to the region selected by dragging the mouse. Pan, Ctrl+P or I, walk through, moves the view to the left, to the right, up, or down by dragging the mouse or by moving the mouse while holding down the I key. The walkthrough feature moves through the scene using the arrow keys or a mouse like a first-person video game. Orbit, Ctrl+R, orbit selected, orbit sub-object, rotates the view around the global axis, selected object, or Sub-object by dragging the mouse. Maximize viewport toggle, Alt plus W, makes the active viewport fill the screen, replacing the 4 separate viewports. Clicking this button a second time shows all 4 viewports again.
Rock-a-bye baby on the treetop. When the wind blows, the cradle will rock. When the bough breaks, the cradle will fall. But mother will catch you.
Configuring the viewports. If the viewport navigation controls help define what you see, then the viewport configuration dialog box helps define how you see objects in the viewports. You can configure each viewport using this dialog box. To open this dialog box, choose the View's Viewport Configuration menu command. Rendering levels. The rendering level options, from slowest to fastest, include the following. L Realistic, shows smooth surfaces with lighting highlights. L Shaded, shows smooth surfaces without any lighting effects. L Consistent Colors, shows the entire object with minimal lighting. L Hidden Line, shows only polygon edges facing the camera. L Wireframe, shows all polygon edges only. L Bounding Box, shows a box that would enclose the object. Cross-reference. Within the rendering level drop-down list are several stylized options, including graphite, color pencil, ink, color ink, acrylic, pastel, and tech. The viewport rendering methods are shown from left to right. First row, realistic, shaded, consistent colors, hidden line, and wireframe. Second row, bounding box, and edged faces applied to shaded. The realistic shading method uses any applied textures and high-quality lighting and shadows. The shaded method is similar, but it uses a quick shading method called form shading. The consistent color method displays the entire object using a single color without any shading. The simplest rendering setting that represents the shape of the object is wireframe. It gives a good representation of the object while redrawing very quickly. By default, the top, front, and left viewports are set to wireframe. and the perspective viewport is set to realistic. The bounding box method shows only the limits of the object as a rectangular shaped box.
Altering the viewport layout. Now that you've started to figure out the viewports, you may want to change the number and size of viewports displayed. The layout panel, the viewpoint configuration dialog box, offers several layouts as alternatives to the default layout. Not that there is anything wrong with the default and its 4 equally sized viewports. The layout panel offers many layout options. After selecting a layout from the options at the top of the panel, you can assign each individual viewport a different view by clicking each viewport in the layout panel and choosing a view from the pop-up menu. The view options include perspective, orthographic, front, back, top, bottom, left, right, active shade, track, grid, front, back, top, bottom, left, right, display planes, scene explorer, extended, biped animation workbench, motion mixer, material explorer, Mox script listener, and shape. These view options are also available by right-clicking the viewport point of view label in the upper left corner of the viewport. This viewport layout with the track view, schematic view, asset browser, and perspective views open.
Using safe frames. Completing an animation and converting it to some broadcast medium, only to see that the whole left side of the animation is being cut off in the final screening, can be discouraging. If you rely on the size of the active viewport to show the edges of the final output, you could be way off. Using the Safe Frames feature, you can display some guides within the viewport that show where the content must be to avoid such problems. The Safe Frames panel of the viewport configuration dialog box lets you define several safe frame options, as shown following. Live area marks the area that will be rendered, shown as yellow lines. If a background image is added to the viewport and the match rendering output option is selected, then the background image will fit within the live area. Action safe, the area ensured to be visible in the final rendered file, marked with light blue lines. Objects outside this area will be at the edge of the monitor and could be distorted. Title safe, the area where the title can safely appear without distortion or bleeding, marked with orange lines. User safe, the output area defined by the user, marked with magenta lines. 12-field grid, displays a grid in the viewport, marked with a pink grid. The Safe Frames panel lets you specify areas to render.
Working with viewport backgrounds. Remember in grade school when you realized that you could immediately draw really well using tracing paper, where all you needed to do was follow the lines? Well, it's not quite tracing paper, but you can load background images into a viewport that can help as you create and position your objects. Loading viewport background images. The Views Viewport Background menu command, Alt+B, opens a dialog box.